What's going on, Dan?
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Rambler podcast. I'm Dan Button, your host. I'm here with my co host, Pierre Evans, Fifth Quarter Living. How's it going, Pierre?
Oh man, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal, Dan. Another
Unbelievable.
another morning. Another morning. The weather's good. Y'all caught me in the middle of getting my lips right. I don't want to be on here looking like Pookie. You know what I mean? For those that don't know Pookie, that's New Jack City. You know what I mean? That's the movie New
Yeah,
Jack City, hood movie.
I even remember that old movie. I remember that.
You
Uh,
watched that, Dan? You
oh,
seen New Jack City?
I've seen it back in the day, way back.
Okay, okay.
They just arrested Tupac Shooter. Look at that for 30 years.
Yeah, crazy. I was saying to my wife, I was like, yo, because I don't know what it is, man, but for me, man, Pac is like the greatest of all times. Um, and for all of y'all talking like rap, right? I'm not talking lyrically. It's a whole big thing, man, from the passion of the music, everything. And it just came at a point in time, man, and got me through a point. So he's the best rapper out there to me, man. And I was like, damn, they got him. You know what I mean? Like, it's always crazy, man.
There's been a lot of conspiracy around that. So, yeah, I'm sure it's been known for a long time already. So we'll see what happens. But just interesting. I think those are cool because it reminds you of different times in your life and different things that happened and how quickly time goes by. Which
Yeah.
I kind of, that's just, it's important for us to take action every day. And that's something for me personally that I'm learning is I have to do that because I'll tend to just kind of ride through and, ride through life. And I'm learning that you do have to have good people around you. I heard something yesterday and I'll share it later, but it was just, having good people around you and good reminders. And
Mhm.
that kind of gets us to our topic today, Pierre. Our first podcast here, we're talking about sales. Obviously, we're looking at real estate agents, people that are in the real estate investing space. Let's say you're brand new at it, or let's just say you have an interest in it.
Mhm.
You want to get started. I have a friend of mine, Aaron Goodwin, that lives out in Indianapolis. I think it's Indianapolis, but he's an investor, right? And we just met recently, but I went on. He had a webinar yesterday, and I went on there, and it was nice and short and sweet, and it showed the importance of taking action. He's in his second year, and it just showed that you've got to start someplace. And so I wanted to talk today, Pierre, about like when I first started my journey, right? Like put myself back in the
Mhm.
shoes of those brand new agents that just started and they're at a big brokerage or at a small brokerage. Either one can be good and bad.
Mhm.
And you and I going back to where we first met, right? That environment. There's a lot of opportunities for success. There's a lot of opportunities for distraction.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk today about, how do we build our confidence up quickly? Like, how do we get that confidence when we don't really know what we're doing? So, I mean, and you and I obviously talk about, and we have, you don't want to, you're never going to fake it. Like people say, fake it till you make it. And I know there's different ways to say that, but
Yeah.
you do have to have confidence, right? You've got to start someplace. And I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy working with you, so much, Pierre, is you talk about selling yourself on you, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
can you just, like, I know we have some questions to go over, but can you just kind of give your thoughts on, your
Mhm.
thoughts on that? Like, how do we build confidence quickly when we're new to, an area of sales, whatever it might be. And in this case, real estate, but just kind of in general.
Yeah, man. And this is the crazy thing, right? It's not nothing that's complicated. You know what I mean? And I think my GED for me helps me to uncomplicate things because I don't know how to complicate it, right? So I want to keep it real simple. Anytime we're having a conversation and we're talking about confidence, understand this first and foremost. Everyone is confident. It's just, everyone has confidence. It's just what space do you decide to show your confidence, right? So you can see someone and you put them into an environment they never been in before. You put them into an environment that they feel less than the people that are in that environment. They won't speak up, even though it's the same conversation, same topics that they couldn't stop running their mouth in, last week in a room.
Yeah.
The room changed, the environment changed, and now all of a sudden you feel like your information has no value, right? So this is what I suggest when we're talking about building confidence, and especially talking about building it quickly. Number one, identify the things that you talk about, right, with confidence, and then the environments that you feel extremely confident in, because that's you have to be able to draw that line, right? Okay, I'm confident. When I'm talking to this group of people, I'm confident. Why? I feel like they have less than me. I feel like I'm doing better than. I feel like I'm more knowledgeable on the topic, right, than these individuals. So yes, I'm excited to talk about it here. I have no concerns, no worries. And that feeling that you have of being confident, I want you to go back and think of, was it always that way? You know what I mean? Like sometimes we forget about that. Like, man, there was a time I was quiet in this room. You know what I'm saying? There was a time when I couldn't get on and do a video, never mind a live video. You know what I'm saying? I'm worried about all of these things around me. So I want you to focus on the environment that you're in, right? That's the first thing. Just focus on the environment you're in. Why are you confident there? What was it like before you got the confidence? And when you're looking to go into that next space, that next room, don't don't go in with intentions to be known like you are in the environment
Yeah.
that you feel like you dominate. Know, like, okay, I'm going here to get comfortable. I'm going here to learn. I'm going here to build up the courage, the momentum, so I can be as confident in this room as I am in the room before.
Mm,
Right. So I
mm.
just think identify where you are, right? Just to sum it up, because a little long-winded. Just sum it up. To sum it up, understand where you are in whatever it is you feel confident, and then identify where you want to go and start taking small steps towards that space.
That's really good. That's really good. I think as you were talking, I just thought of that. It happened when I was at this. I went to a Grant Cardone conference just 2 weekends ago. I was 2 Sundays ago. I was there on the last day, and I remember the very first morning. I walked in on a Friday morning, and it was overwhelming. But I just said, okay, don't get overwhelmed. All these people are just like you. I texted my business partner, that's back here. It's here in South Carolina. And
Mhm.
I made a little reference to something we had done fishing, just something he taught me fishing, and kind of did a little analogy like that to him. And he's like, Dan, they're the same as you. They put their pants on just like you. And I was like, and you see these guys that are there, they get the ultra executive super VIP, or they have like 4 levels of VIP, and I'm the executive level, which is everybody.
Yeah.
And but you realize that doesn't matter. And I kind of got quiet, and it's good for me to be quiet.
Mhm.
And I realized, and I met some people that were right on levels. I met one that's, I feel like, a little bit better level than me in some ways. There's lots to learn from, and another lady who just is getting started and wants to learn and wants to help. And that's the kind of value piece where I have value. And we met different people, and I realized if you just quiet and listen and talk, first of all, people will talk about themselves a lot, so you don't have to talk as much as you think you need to, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And the second of all, that's a great point. Just be confident where you're at and just listen and wait for those times where you can add some value and be comfortable. And if you aren't in that environment, just stay in it and absorb it, and it'll come to you. So, I mean, I love that. I just experienced that, because how you explained it really put it into good context for me. So, I was thinking back to Pierre again, as a brand new agent, I go on my phone, I have these videos. I was helping this guy sell his house. It was $1 million house. And that was a big
Mhm.
deal for me. And I was doing open houses, having a sport coat on, doing my videos. And that was, 4 or 5 years ago. Now I'm like, why am I afraid to get on video again? Why am I overthinking it? Back when I was new, I didn't have anything to lose. I just did it. Right.
You
So
know
if I
what's
can
crazy,
confident,
man?
yeah.
People get nervous to get on and do videos, and they're like, "Oh man, I don't like the way I look. Man, my hair's not right. Oh, I got this bump on my face." Or like, yo, I was looking at it's one of them TV shows, man, and the dude on there, No Neck Ed, right? Like it's funny, like that's what they call him, No Neck Ed. It's one of them reality TV shows, and it was on the TV, and I'm looking at it, and I don't watch the seasons, but I seen like the previews, like when he first got started, and he was looking at, looking to get with a chick and some other country, and then you look at him now, like on the reunion, yo, my man got fans. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, let me Google my man. Let me just see what they're saying. Yo, he got fans. He got women now. Like, oh my God, he's so adorable. Oh my God, I like him. And I'm like, yo, it's No Neck Ed, right? And I'm saying that to say, when you're scared to do something, yo, go do it, because you're judging yourself. Just like in the earlier parts, he had low self-esteem. Like it was, now he's a monster. Now he's just evil. He's mean because he realized, like, yo, I got in front of a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that really like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's women that are attracted to the dude now. People, no matter what is wrong with you, no matter what you see wrong with you, there's gonna be somebody out there that's like, yo, I love what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what you think your defect is, there's someone that got love for you. And so just go out and just do it, man. Stop. I just think as individuals, man, we really just mess ourselves up. You know what I'm saying? It's not that deep. It's
Yeah.
really not.
Yeah. I well, and I was thinking again, applying this to, back to the real estate where if you're a brand new agent right now, um, I mean, and I'm going to go back about 5 years, and again, all these things we talk about, I'm by no means an expert. I've that's why we're working on this now, is we really want to kind of capture what we've done and help other people that can get those first few years knocked out and find their feet, and then just go off and tear it up on their own. And I remember again as a brand new agent. Trying to get confidence like at open houses. Open houses is something that a lot of agents don't do, and a lot of agents do them. So again, we're not going to get into like full marketing and how to do all these different things, because there's 100 ways to go out and get business. But one of the ways that's just well known is open houses. And I remember again being new and talking and working all weekend, and we went back to the team meeting on the Monday, and myself and another new agent, we had spent 2 days doing open houses. And just we looked back on it, and you realize you look back a few months later, like I didn't even know what I was saying. I was trying, I had the best intentions, I was being honest, but I didn't know how to answer the questions. I didn't know how to respond and get more information out of them to be able to help them figure out what they're doing. And so I think, can you give us a tip on just in general, like what is there something that you can do to build confidence, even if you have a baseline of something, right? How do you take that little nugget, and then do you recommend just focusing on that kind of one thing? Hopefully that question makes sense. But like, I knew how to talk to people, and they came in, and I knew I wanted to talk to them about buying a house. That's about it. Do you have a way to kind of a process that you go through to kind of say, okay, how can I pick something, whether it's a script, whether it's a conversation outline, as I'm hearing it called now, like, does that, you get what I'm asking?
Yeah, no,
Build on
absolutely.
that, to be confident, to get that confidence up so that you can know that, hey, I did the best I could with that person. And I know it probably wasn't perfect, but that's okay, because I gave 100% effort in an honest way to try to solve their problems, help them out.
Yeah. So anytime, man, when we're looking at confidence, right? And doing anything really, you have to, don't look at the full picture. The full picture is discouraging.
It's
you know what I'm saying? Like
overwhelming.
So let's just look at it as there's 10 pieces, right? You have 10 pieces, and in these 10 pieces, you're looking at it, and each one of them have like 5-10 bullet points. You see what I'm saying? So do you know how cluttered that looks? It's multiple, it's like 2 pages, right? You got like 2 pages, maybe even 3 pages, right? Of information in front of you, and you're looking at everything. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this. And you close it. Everything you do isn't right, and everything you do isn't wrong. So you got to take all this information of all these steps, and you just got to look at one of the steps. You got to look at one of the steps. What can you do right now that's easy? Like out of the 10 steps, I promise you there's some of them that right? What can you do that's easy? And then what's the easiest? So you're looking at what's easy. You're going to put that on a piece of paper. What's the easiest? You're going to separate that from everything else. You're going to get started right there. So you might just say, and this is why it's important to do more than just one. You can't just say, yo, I'm going to have one open house, because you're not going to get everything, right?
Yeah, right.
If there's 10 steps, you need to know, I need to go through at least a minimum of 10 open houses, so I get live experience to actually try to put this together, right? To actually make this happen. So now you sit there and you say, okay, I'm going to look at this one thing, and I'm going to focus on this one thing. And it might just be when people first come in, like my introduction and making people feel welcomed. I'm phenomenal there. You know what I'm saying? So let me go ahead and perfect that. So this first open house, I'm gonna worry about just perfecting that. And because I can do it so easily, I might add another step to it. So now I'm like, okay, I can perfect this. And now I'm like, hey, let me show you around. Or maybe my information gathering. So I'm going to perfect my introduction, make you feel welcomed. And then my other piece is I need to gather information from you when you come in. But maybe I don't want it to be so overwhelming. So I'm going to put it in steps, right? I'm going to get the information. I'm going to welcome you. I'm going to get the information from you. And then it might be the tour. So I'm putting things in order so I have a structure to what I'm doing. Because what you find is the more you get information, the more you just want to share. And if you're taking it all in at one time, it's going to be information overload, and you're going to start to fumble.
Yep.
Don't fumble. Put it in steps. What does it look like? My open house. Yep, I got to greet the people. I want to greet them like this. I need to get information from them, right? I want to know what should I be showing them in this house? What's the most important thing? So you got to understand, why am I getting this information? I'm getting the information to help me know what I need to highlight about this property, about this community. You see what I'm saying? And keep this thing simple. Now you might say, man, I'm not really good at getting the information. Like, I don't really know how to dive into it and make it to where it doesn't sound like it's an interrogation. So I don't know. Yo, pause everything and stay right there.
Yeah.
All week long, all the way to that next open house. Only thing you need to be doing is focusing on, how do I ask these questions without it sounding intimidating, without it sounding like an interrogation? Like, how do I make this thing smooth?
Because
and then that next open house, you just dive deeper in onto them two steps.
Because it seems like it's a lot, but if you think about, okay, I'm going to commit to do one of these a week, or maybe even I'm going to get real aggressive and do 2 a week. If I have a plan, and again, we're talking about this today because these are things I didn't do, and these are things that we want to help new agents, new investors. You can take these. Our goal is to take these, and we're not talking about open houses. We're just using that as a metaphor and as an example of how to apply it. But you can really apply this. Our goal, right, with I know what you teach, right? Our goal is to apply this strategy to whatever it is that we're struggling with in sales, right? Building that confidence up quickly. And so you telling that brought me back. I taught a guy once, and it was a pretty challenge. It was pretty socially awkward. And I was on a team, and my team lead he was a dynamo. He was just this dude was awesome. If I said his name, people would know him, and he's a good guy. And I was like, man, how do I, what can I, he's like, you got this. He goes, you know how to do it. You used to teach, you figure it out. And so this guy I would sit with him at open houses. People would come in, and it would just be painful for me to sit there and be quiet and not say anything. But I let him, and I was like, listen. And he's like, I can't do it. I was like, yes, you can. So what I told him was, I said, listen, find out 3 pieces of information about them personally. And I think it was 2 real estate related. That's all you have to do. And as you were talking, that story came back to me. And that's what I was doing without even knowing it, which means that's cool. That's encouraging for me, that even when I didn't know what I was doing, I would still have some good policies that I was needing to be aware of, or good practices. But my point was, Pierre, when he did that, he was like, what do you mean? I said 3 pieces, like, where do they live? Are they single or married? Do they have any kids? I go, that's already 3, you're done. And I said, and 2, like, do they own or do they rent their house? How long have they lived in that house? What do they do for a job? What's their career? Find something in common with them. He was like, oh, that's not really very much. I said, it's not. That's my point. Because he was acting like, I can't do this. I'm stuck. So when he started doing it, I said, just count to 5. Just do 3 and 2 or 3 and 3, whatever that number is. And he was like, he came back to me. He was like, hey, it worked. I did that. And I felt good because I was like, hey, I was able to help somebody in a small way to help them get past that level. And that's what we're talking about here, is find that first foundation, build on it.
So I want to take that, because I like it, man. Like, number one, knowing the questions, right? Knowing the questions that you need to ask. The second thing, though, is why. Like, okay, I'm gonna ask you, how long you've been living there? Why? Like why is that important? Do you rent or own? Why is that important? Like, it's so many times, man, people don't ask questions because they don't understand what it's attached to.
Yeah, right.
So any question you ask, you got to know what it's attached to. Like, why am I asking you if you're single or married, right? A few different reasons. Number one, I want to know, are you the only decision maker?
Yep.
Number 2,
Bingo.
I want to know, is this somewhere where you're going to grow into? You see what I'm saying? I want to know, because if it is, and then if you're like, I'm married, great. Number 1, there's probably another decision maker on a big investment like this.
Yep.
Number 2, you probably, if you don't have a family yet, you plan on having one. Schools are important. Neighborhoods important. There's a lot of things that now come into play.
Perfect.
So each question is attached to something, right? And that's what gives you the upper hand. That's what gives you the power to be able to expand on your question. Right? Expand on the question. Don't ask a question just because you heard somebody else ask. If there's not a purpose behind the question, it's probably not a good question.
Well, Pierre,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think it's common sense. This is kind of rhetorical, but why do we, as salespeople, why do we need to know that information for these guys that are brand new out there? Why does that, like, why do I care that they're married and they have a decision maker. And like, what's our goal as salespeople? Our goal is to find a solution for them. Or maybe we can't. Maybe we say right here where this area is, this is not the area for you. But I know an area over here, without getting into legalities of real estate, but hey, this price point, your budget, what you want to spend, we can start looking over at these types of homes, condos, whatever. But that's why we care, right? As salespeople, because our goal is to help people.
Absolutely, it's to help. And I would be very careful, right? With I'm big on not introducing something when it could create prolonged decisions.
Great point.
Right?
Okay,
so
give us an example of that. What do you talk about? What do you mean by that?
When we're looking at like how you mentioned, we want to know because there might be something better. I don't want to introduce something better right now because better to me might not be better to you.
Great point. And it's not about us, by the way. First of all, great caveat there.
You might like really love where you're at right now. You might love what you're looking at to the point where it's just like, oh my God, I love this. You see what I'm saying? So now my job is to see, do you really love it, or is it just a lust? You see what I'm saying? Like, is it just a lust? So now when I'm showing it to you, because I want to make sure I give you all the options. I want to make sure this is perfect for you. So I want to address the pros and I want to address some cons that might come up down the line. And let me tell you why this is important. Number one, if I immediately assume because you're looking to grow as a family, this area might not be good. I recommend something else to you and you hate it. You like the idea of being there, like you actually buy it, you move into it, you're living there, and you actually hate it. What you're going to say is, my agent, my salesperson, they had me get this. Oh my God, I hate it. I'm never coming back. I'm never recommending, right? So you got to be very careful. You got to treat it like a marriage. And sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut. Sometimes you got to open your mouth, right? It all depends. So I'm looking at it and I'm going to, you love this? Great. Yes. Listen, let's go over all of the reasons why it fits and why it's beautiful for you. And I also want to touch on some areas that might be a concern of yours. I just want to make sure that I give you all the information possible.
Very good.
Right? Now, when you get it and you make that decision and say, man, I know I heard everything you said and thank you for sharing it. I appreciate that, but I love this. Great. Let's move forward. Right?
Perfect.
If you don't love it and you're like, oh my God, you know what? You're right. I didn't think about that. Yeah, no problem at all. I do have something else I can show you that addresses everything you mentioned. And plus it takes care of the cons that we have here. Would you like to see it? You see what I'm saying? Because once I see that you're off of this and you're derailed, but you derailed yourself based on some questions I asked, now I can introduce something else, but always keeping it to your decision.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's a great point you brought up. And I think we do it by just personality type sometimes, and sometimes by this notions we might have gotten from a class we took or in real estate school or whatever. But it's always a great reminder. It's not about what we want or what we think would be good for that person. It really isn't. And I know you've taught me that over the years, and I appreciate you bringing that up today, because that's dead on. That's dead on right. You take it, you get out of that boat and start swimming in the water when you were fine right where you were in the boat, right? Just stay in the boat and keep rolling. That's beautiful, because I think, again, I hear a lot of that when I hear agents talking to different people. Well, I know what's better, because it's that it doesn't matter what we want. It's our goal as a salesperson is to help them solve the issues that they have and find that, in this case, the best place to live or the best time to sell, if they're whatever that reason is, right? So I appreciate that clarity, because that's, we have a lot of opportunity. I heard this, I forgot where I heard it, but we have lots of opportunity. The problem is we need more clarity. So you're talking to a person, you had a lot of opportunity to run off the rails. You and I talk about this all the time with me. I had opportunity to run off the rails and just start talking. Let's keep that clarity. Let's have clarity on our purpose. And that goes back to what we started talking about today, having a focus, pick a topic, pick an area to build, and then pick the next one, and then pick the next one.
Absolutely. So on and so on. And that's where the confidence comes in, right? The only reason we deviate from something is because we might run into an objection that we don't know how to handle. So immediately we're looking for a way to divert, right? We're looking for a pivot. that we can make. Oh, I don't want to handle that. Somebody might say, well, you know what, man, I'm not really sure about the schools in this district, and you don't know the answer. So the first thing you say is, you know what, I got something in this area, and these schools are known to be phenomenal. Huh? Like, yo, they had one little objection, right? And I'm not saying little like education's not important and you don't want your kids to be in the right school, but
Right.
what if you're somewhere where the parent commutes to, and they're in the area where they can have their kid go to any school as long as they get them enrolled soon enough, right? Like that's how it is in Arizona. Like
Right.
you don't have to live there. If you commute your kid and you get them on a list soon enough, you can get them into another district. So if you don't know the answer, that's where you start throwing in other things that you think might be better, and you end up creating, oh, let me think about this. And now what happens is your confidence is shot, and you're scared to speak up now because every time you speak up, you lose a deal. You know what I'm saying? So you got to move with real purpose and be intentional about the way you're moving.
Yeah, perfect. That's perfect. I know we're getting a little long on time for folks today. Our goal was again to build confidence quickly. So I want to just have a couple quick steps for you to take. So I want to recap here, and I'd like for you to, I'll give a little 30-second plug at the end here of a note to leave with the audience, but I'd like to have you do that first. But just want to recap, and if we miss anything or something pops into mind that you want to add, please do. But for folks, take these notes down, right? We want you to walk away from this podcast, this few minutes of interaction with Pierre and I, and have something that you can take away and work on until next week, right? So that first one is know those areas that you're confident in. When you're confident in those areas, get better at that. But when you're not, be able to just recognize that and sit and listen and maybe ask questions and not try to necessarily get involved yet, so that you can get that comfort level and build it up as you get into different environments. The next piece to write down is, again, we talked about there could be 10 different things that you want to do, and they've all got 5 steps to them. That's 50 actions. Pick one, and then pick that first subset step and work on that. And when you feel good at that, go to the next one and go to the next one. And next week, we're going to talk about having lack of process and how that hurts you. So this will tie in perfectly to that when we get together next time. But the goal is have those pieces, start writing them down so that you can start building that process, which we're going to get to in more detail next week. And you mentioned find the easiest, right? And then remember that when you say something, it may not always be right. You won't always be wrong. So don't beat yourself up too bad about it. If you're putting in that work, putting in that effort, it's going to start coming off, and you're going to be adding value to people quicker than you think you will. And then the last piece, which is phenomenal, Pierre, is why do I care? Like, why do I care to ask these questions? I talked about this earlier, I think on our first podcast, that when I was in the military and I would brief these guys and these ladies that were going to go out and fly multi-million-dollar jets in a high stress environment, and they're like, Button, why do I care, man? Hey, Button, what do I care? And I was like, well, you care because this could get you. Okay, cool. Or, hey, you care because when you get ready to this high stress piece of the mission, this is what's going to be happening. So why do I care? And you talked really succinctly about that. It was great. Like you care because you want to have a focus. You want to have a purpose of what you're getting the information for, so that you can help them. It's not about you figuring out some other options. And then the last piece was keep in that boat, stay on that focus. Don't introduce all new types of topics that will maybe blow up the deal. Focus on helping them work through the one that you're at. And then if that doesn't work out, then you can transfer and move over. So does that make sense? Did I miss anything?
No, that's a great start, right? Again, it's not overwhelming. It's something that's easy to do. It's simple. And I think, and that's the thing. Understand this, man. Keep the whole thing simple, right? Like you hear KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right? Keep it simple, stupid. I say keep it super simple, right? Keep it super simple. Break it down to the ridiculous. And unless you plan on, getting out the business in like 30 days, I can see your pressure. But if you're like, I'm in this long term, focus on a skill, right? One skill at a time. And the better you become and the more you understand it. This is the thing, Brett. A lot of people are afraid to ask questions because it's not that they're afraid to ask the questions. They're afraid of the response, the unknown. I don't know how they're going to respond if I say this. If I say this and they say that, then what am I going to do? So take this whole thing and map it out. Map it out to the best of your ability. And what I mean by mapping it out is when you're asking these questions. Like Dan came up and he just gave you like 5 questions to ask, right? And I'm like, okay, understand why you're asking. I want you to write them questions down, and then I want you to write down why you're asking these questions, what you're looking to accomplish from them. And what's going to happen is the more you ask, you're going to identify that there's only a few different ways that they can answer, right?
Yeah.
There's a few different ways. Now, your job is to prepare for each way that they can answer. When someone answers in a way you never heard it before, don't get stumped. Just be like, oh, I never heard that one. Like, where'd that come from? Ask them questions about it. You don't have to be the smartest in the room. Do you understand? There's a lot of people that like to teach, right? So when you give a person the opportunity, you said it too, Dan, people love to talk about themselves.
Yep.
When you give somebody the opportunity to talk about themselves, they will talk. So if they have a good question, it stumps you, say, wow, you know what? That's a great question. I never had that one. Like what made you come up with that one?
Yeah, brilliant.
And dig into it now. Or you have between now and the next time you hear that question to figure out how to answer it, how to respond, how to overcome it. You know what I'm saying? So spend time with you, right? So you go get humiliated because you don't know the answer, know what's going to happen.
Yep.
And then you take the time building a defense that will destroy the thing that humiliated you. So now you're no longer humiliated from it.
Perfect. That's awesome. That's good. Well, hey, I'll leave my 30-second reminder, and then I'm going to ask you to give yours, and then we're going to call it good till next time. Just my challenge for you guys is just to get out there and take some action. I talked to an agent just the other day in my office. She's like, I've never done an open house before. What should I do? And have you heard of this? And I said, just go knock on 5 doors each direction. Like someone taught me that 5 years ago. So whatever that is, just take one thing, go knock on a few doors, invite the people over, and then pick that piece that you want to work on to start with, and just focus on that for that. That's a win when you can do that. So start small. Don't be overwhelmed. Just pick one piece to work on. And next week, we'll talk about building a process out on top of that. Pierre, what do you got for the folks before we head out for today?
Yeah, whenever we're talking about confidence and building it up, right? I want you to list out the things that boost your confidence, right? Like in what situations, what happens when you're like, yes, I got it, right? And I want you to bottle that, right? So you understand what made it happen. And then the things that made you feel defeated, do the same thing. Like identify what these things are, what made you feel defeated, and then what led up to that happening. So I want you to start to be able to really pay attention, so you know when something's starting to go down the wrong road. Like people say, oh, read the analytics. What the analytics say? I'm going to do this marketing. Okay, cool. What's your analytics say? What does your analytics say, right? What are your stats that you start to feel before you become defeated? A lot of people wait until they're defeated to try to deal with something. It's too late at that point. I want you to be able to track this thing all the way to the root. Man, before I felt defeated, this happened, that happened. I did this, I did this, I did this. Okay, great. Let's back this thing all the way up and let's run it from the back. How could I have stopped this? What could I have done for this? What made this, right? And now you start to put pieces in that when you're starting to go down that road, you can put the brakes on. You know what I'm saying? So understand what gets you high, what gets you up, where you're ready to conquer the world, and then what are the things that bring you low, and then you keep doing the things that get you high, the things that get you low. You got to stop them early before you get to that point, man. That way, you know your confidence stays at an all-time high.
Well, that's awesome, Pierre. Hey, everybody, thanks again for listening. We appreciate you taking time out to listen to what we're trying to share to help you get your journey started in real estate. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Appreciate y'all. Thanks, Dan.